I was struck how beautiful the countryside is. It reminded me a whole lot of Guilin in China, the way the mountains are very rounded. So we went over and found the temple, and we met with a Buddhist monk who was in his orange garb with shaved head, kind of the classic look. And on the walls, on one side, they had a number of photos of the devastation, the tsunami. So that was quite striking, to say the least, because it was raw. And he was talking to me about their form of meditation, and I told him a little bit about our form of meditation, and that we were just glad that we could in some way contribute at their time of need. And he said, well, I would like you to come back. And I said, I would like to come back. But there's a very welcoming consciousness, a very caring consciousness. And I enjoyed that immensely. The beauty and the serenity is what stands out. We took one day to go on, they call them sea canoes. And what it is, you go out on some kind of boat and you go visit these islands that are very vertical but round. They have caves that have been eroded from the ocean surges, from the natural tides. And you get in these sea canoes and you go into these dark caves for a little ways, and then there's a lagoon on the other side, and it's also vertical. And those are strikingly beautiful, very unusual. We could go into these lagoons, and it would just be two of us in this kind of quiet, where you're surrounded by these very tall cliffs with tropical foliage and the birds, the birds singing out. And it's kind of experience to me that goes in deep, and you register it as a natural beauty, a natural experience, the kind of serenity that is idyllic. I'd like to come back, and I want to come back. I would love that opportunity to share what's there, and also bring what we bring as a consciousness of light and a focus of peace.
Dear JR, I haven't been in the movement for very long, but even so, I can see some positive changes. And the one change that means so much to me is the way I'm relating to my 2-year-old son. Any of you who have 2-year-old sons know that they can be a handful. I am becoming more patient with him, more accepting, and I am truly giving of myself. And do you know what? I am enjoying our relationship so much more as the growing expression of living love. My son is responding to all of the love. However, there are a few areas in which I feel the need for assistance. The first concerns the negativity that has been previously incurred. The last 2 years were really hard for us. It seems that for the most of it I was lost in the dark. So if it be for the highest good, would you lift this negativity and take it into the light? Out with the old vibes and habit patterns. My second request is, would you please work with me in relation to my son and my motherhood responsibilities, example, discipline. I don't know if she meant for her or for the son. However, we decided a little both couldn't hurt. Whenever I need advice, I look to my heart and into your book on the spiritual family. If I cannot get a practical right now answer, then I ask other mothers who have benefited from your help. In fact, it was one of their advice that inspired this letter. The other mother who really gave me inspiration was, and I've deleted the name, via the lovely letter you read in the seminar. Thanks for reading it. I really needed it. In the meantime, I'm trying my best most of the time. I'm forgiving myself when I remember to, as I do have much guilt accumulated from the moment of my son's birth. I'm sure that I can use a little of your help. My last request, brackets for now, is that I get an appointment for a child's blessing for my son. I realize you'll be traveling for a while, so I need to know when I can make an appointment. Thank you for reading this, and thank you for your guidance with love. Isn't that nice? Often some people say, well, why do you read the letter? And it's obvious some people will pick up some help from that my mouth, my mind, my emotions can't deliver. And I'm not proud. Whoever can do it, I think that's great. Whoever can say the word that can help, that can lift, that can change, then that's fine with me, because I don't care who speaks the truth. I'm really concerned that it be spoken, and I don't care if they do it in pidgin English, because I'm smart enough to dig it out anyway, usually. And I figure if anybody's going to feel good about this, I might just as well feel good. Because if I feel bad, then I'm going to get up and go home. Well, isn't what you people do when you feel bad? You get up and go home? No, you stick around and make people feel miserable. Then you sit and feel pity for yourself that you've made them feel miserable. Then you feel guilt so you can feel justified and all that. And then they get to love you and kiss you better. Now that they've reinforced that bad habit, you start over again and again and again and again, and then you wonder why you don't seem to be making much progress. Then after that doesn't work, either the person gets wise to your method or your madness, you decide to find somebody else and try it again. And you think that change is progress. And often change is no more than change. And if it was bad to start with and you haven't done anything else but stay in that, it's not going to get better. It's not designed that way. Just because we are temporarily distracted from the problem that we're dealing with, we feel that we've made some progress. But if that problem, by its very nature, cycles back on us, and we find ourselves perpetrating the fraud against ourselves again, then maybe we should confess we're not so smart, instead of thinking we're smart, and attempt to move to that level of awareness that definitely is going to maintain itself independent of our moods. Too often, and maybe far too often on the planet, people will say things that will just cast us into despair, and all along they were joking. That really happens a lot. Or they're seeing how far they can push you, or how much they can get away with in terms of you or your organization or your country or your government. Where all along, if you gave them their way immediately, they probably wouldn't like it, nor could they afford it. A long time ago, somebody said to me something. I didn't like the clothes I was wearing. I said, buy me some new ones. It's like, you win. They never did. However, it did make me look at my clothes. And I found out if I had good clothes or I had bad clothes, I was always the same inside. And I found out that clothes just doesn't make the man or the person. There's nothing in this world that does, except often it tempers us. Often it will tend to give us need to strengthen ourselves. But I also am pretty well convinced, and I say pretty well because there's some people I haven't seen yet, and it may be that there'll be an exception, that the greatest strength we have is that part inside of us that we keep going to all the time. And we develop that strength. This doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of beautiful things in this world. I mean, look at all of us present. So we know there are beautiful things in this world. But there's really no way you can possess anything in this world, even by agreement. We will own this building. We will own this chair. We will own this child. We will own this car. We will own this debt. Eventually, it all goes. And that often gets to be the most fearful thing. The last enemy is stated in a lot of the scripture as death. And I don't look at death as an enemy. Often I look at it as the final change. After you die, you're not going anywhere either. And just to leave this corporate field of behavior isn't going to make you smart. In fact, if we're so smart, why are we back here? When there are many places that are much more enjoyable in terms of everything, because we don't have to put up with the greeds and the lusts of the body. And if we can handle those in terms of freedom, freedom being the revelation inside of us that we can be free in our inner consciousness, we're well on the way to helping everyone around us. And the more we as humans sit with inhibitions and restrictions in terms of angers or resentments, the more that we will perpetrate that against anyone we go to, the more we'll do that. Often by doing nothing but just appearing in a group is enough to tick people off. And no matter how much we want to smile, somebody there will not like how you smile. They won't like how you're doing what you're doing. And then you often wonder, well, why is this happening to me? Why are they picking on me? Why is it my turn to receive of this? And then we like to say, well, you know, you've been doing some thinking and some things inside of you that aren't too good. You've been corrupting the inner power. And, you know, often, let me digress, we often wonder, how can you corrupt the inner power? And there are some very good measurements of that. We talk about power, not that anyone in the movement should do a power trip, because that's one of the fastest ways to hell. Even in terms of living, is to go after power, because somebody behind you is after the power you've got. And somebody's after the power they've got. And so constantly you're going to be overthrown. It isn't a desirable position to be in. But I'm not talking about that power out there. I'm talking about the power inside. And that power is awareness. In the Eastern philosophies, they call it the Shakti. In this climate, we call it the Spirit. I hope those words aren't offensive to anyone. If they are, call it air. When we feel that power, the Shakti, the Spirit, moving through us, it will always go out ahead of us after it has appeared inside of us. That appearance is entirely independent of our thought. But we can increase it coming to us by being open. At the same time, we're open to anything that comes our way. So we have to learn how to discern life, and we do that by the experiences that come to us. These people that come to us with bayonets and guns can hurt us. We see them coming, we get out of their way. These people that come down the road driving and who are apparently drunk, we learn to get out of their way. We can see that there is an inherent power of destructiveness in what they're doing. Somebody comes to you raging, you learn to get out of their way. If you don't, they run into you, or over you, or through you. But the end result is you're not going to feel happy about it. There are many types of philosophy on the planet that talk about that the increasing of the power. You know, it's like for one thin dime or $6.98, the cosmic masters have called you and you can be God. There's only 100,000 people bought the book, and they're all seeking to be God. And it isn't found there. That's like taking a prescription a doctor gives you, and then you read it trying to get well from reading the prescription. It's just not there. It's like reading a water almanac to quench your thirst. It's just not there. These only become a there when they become a in here. And that means we must take and incorporate that inside of us. When we've done that, we have then increased the viability of the energy, which is the power. But if we follow the philosophy of just power At some point, we'll be coming very close to what we call that God enlightenment. And we will be like knocking at the door, as it were. But these people, after you've watched them over the period of years, and often that's the only way you're going to find out, because they can do all sorts of magic with that power. You sit in the intimacy of their beingness and you find out that they've gone brittle and cold inside and very embittered because there's no love. It's a destructive path. It is the path of great illusion because it promises you all of this. They won't be able to kick sand in your face anymore. No, now they knock your teeth out with a brick. There's always something there in the quest of power. And in power, you attract power. And if that power you attract is as negative as you feel you're positive, you will be neutralized. And if it's as powerful as you are, it will then try to ascend and overtake you. And the only balance in that is to produce love and attract the love in, even as a supplement or a complement to you. So that where you're gained and the love flows, only that love comes in. And I'll tell you something very factual. And it's like, by God, the negativity can't get in. It can come towards you and it may threaten you. And it may do all sorts of things to you. But I'll tell you, the most sure way to banish evil, the most sure way. You have within you the great potential power to banish it. If something negative comes your way and you give it fear, anger, hostility, you feed it. And do you feed it mightily? It snap, crackle, and pop. And if you want to disperse it, you fall back within the only thing in you that is savable and will be saved in any terms of the word of salvation, and that's love. And so when it comes to you, you love it. And it completely destroys it. And you've done nothing except be that is the loving force. And as soon as you give fear, oh my God, they're going to hurt me, they're crazy, they're wrong, you give energy to it and it just keeps coming at you. And it in itself then can destroy you because you've set up the whole pattern of self-destruction. Negative thinking, guilt, lust, greed, avarice, fear, jealousy, resentment, irritation. Go ahead and give it to the devil. He'll just take it and beat you over the head. Many of the scriptures say, resist not evil. What do? Do you fight it? No, you love it. Do you embrace it? No, I didn't say embrace it. What do? You say, God bless you, I love you, and it starts to fall away. The darkness of our own countenance produces the darkness that comes upon us. If we look for that is projecting negativity towards us, and if there be no negativity projected towards us, we'll create it. And my God, will we do a great job. And if we're on a spiritual path in any way, shape, or form, we've got to be very watchful because we can even blow the fuses in our own house. And then we blame the negative projection out there that doesn't exist, but we're doing it vicariously by a mock-up situation. So to destroy it, we've got to destroy ourselves. Who wants to do that? What do? Well, that love force comes in. The Spirit goes out, the love matches it. The Spirit goes out, the love matches it. The Spirit goes out, the love matches it. It can be called a lot of things. One thing it can be called is that's a very practical approach. Why? It's enjoyable. People said to me, well, what's the value of joy? And I said, apparently you haven't had it. I mean, there's no other value in having it. What can you do with it? Nothing. Well, what is it? It's just for you. You enjoy it. Joy in joy. You say, well, I want to take it and give it to somebody. You have no right to take it and give it to anybody. What do? You go up to them and say, I want you to enjoy this here. And they say, what are you after, my body? Like, no, enjoy this. It's like, in whose terms? People have come to me and they say, John Roger, I hear you're a spiritual teacher. I say, that's a lie. They say, what are you? I say, I'm a mystical traveler. They say, I hear you're a truth teacher. I say, that's just absolute nonsense. They say, well, why not? I say, because you can't teach truth and spirit to people. You can't teach that to people. There's no way you can discuss it any closer than to say truth. That's as close as you get to it on this level. And to teach means you're going to learn. That's why I say I'm not a truth teacher. Nor a spiritual teacher. Nor anything else except just what I am. And I tell people there's nothing hidden. If you can't see it, it's here. There's the door. I mean, I don't have anything in reserve back here. I mean, it's just one shot. The Big Bang Theory. And for whatever reason that is, that's the reason that is. If you can't teach it, what's happening? Well, the outward teachings of the movement are disgustingly profane in terms of the spirit and the truthfulness that's there. But the trueness of it is taught inside of you. And for that, you have to have somebody that can go inside of you and teach in that level that is the truth. It can only teach in your truth because your truth will recognize it. And that truthfulness that we call the soul starts picking up the energy of the other truth, and it starts vibrating at an increased rate. And that vibration becomes awareness inside of you of something that's present called joy. And the presence of joy is the undeniable indicator that the Spirit is present. It's right there. I'm not talking about happiness and giddiness. I'm talking about joy. That thing where you say, oh my God, I don't care what you said. It's there. It's there. It's there. And you say, what can you do with it? And you say, it's just there. There's nothing to do with joy. But it's amazing how it can become contagious. And you catch spirituality as a terminal disease. You're dead to this level from now on. But you say, thank God I've been so alive to this level. And all the aches and the pains and the heartache and the striving and the bills and the this and the that. What on earth are we doing here? And my point of view is you're here because this is terminal. Terminal is where you gather to leave. It's the end. We're going. It's not where we're coming together. We're in a process of splitting from this place. You know, and it is strange, I must agree with you, but people write me letters that say, oh, my uncle or my aunt's dying. And I say, good. You know, and they're saying, how can you say that? I say, well, my job isn't to keep them here. My job's to get them off here. So I'm really happy they're going. It's you're the one who's unhappy that they're staying. But you go ahead and keep them here with all your misery. I don't want to be involved in that. I'd like to get them off into their happiness, get them off into their permanency. Get them into that place that is truly that place. Not by my say-so, not by your say-so, but by that place being the place that it is. And we all come on it and recognize it spontaneously as the place. And then we all jump to get into it and find out there's ample room because that place is inside of us. And so we can live here in the physical body in that place that's everywhere and walk through this world in a joyful state, and they're going to give you shock treatments. Because nobody should be that happy. And I'm saying, we're not happy, we're joyful. Happiness is a state of mind. I can make anybody happy in a few short minutes. Just promise you a Rolls Royce. Oh boy, a Rolls Royce. How happy. But when I don't deliver, then you find out it's just a state of mind. But joy is a presence. And you don't have to be in a spiritual movement to feel joy. All you have to do is look at some of these little babies. And that thing wells up inside of you, and there's nothing you can do with that except bust. And so you bust all over the kid. And you end up by kissing them, slobbering them, poking them, teasing them, taking the bottle out of their mouth, make them fight for it. Then when he gets it, you smack it and take it away again because you're joyful. But somebody else tried to do that, and you're going to really question them because you don't know why they're doing it. But you do know why you're doing it because you're joyful and you're madly in love. And there's nothing you can do with it except just beat up on them. The bears like to do it with a hit. I love you. And there goes their head, joyfully. When the traveler, that is the spiritual part of the physical, enters into and with you, you say, joy is a very poor word. But it sort of like points the arrow the way we're going. It's blissful. And we say, what do you do with the bliss? You say, I just sit there and cry. I say, well, that's not doing anything with the bliss. That's just exercising the lacrimal eye ducts. Is that the correct doctor? Okay. Sometimes I wing it, I step off of my Ghost Riders and throw in a little intellectual thing there for you people that like a little intellectual thing. But what can you do with an intellectual thing? Oh, I'm intellectual. Good. Do you go to heaven? No. I was talking with a friend earlier tonight, and I said, as strange as it may seem, but you can take that person who is an intellectual genius here in this world, that everybody would be glad to worship with their pronouns and verbs and adjectives, or chemical balances, or scalpel, or upliftment, or whatever. And you take that nincompoop, that one who is the town bumpkin, everybody's got the village idiot, and you strip them of everything and put them in the soul realm, and you can't tell the difference. And that gets to be a sad commentary about what we're doing here. But you take that one who's intellectual and uses that intellect to deal inside with himself and use that as a weapon of unfoldment inside, not as a weapon of destruction outwardly, not as a teaching process outwardly, because you can't teach anybody anything. They got to get it for themselves. You can make all sorts of presentation. And usually if you make enough, and if the kid loves you enough, he's going to learn from you by the love. I remember when I used to teach, kids would come in, I'd stamp my name on their sign-in card, and I'd say, this says my name. It doesn't say you like me, I like you. It doesn't say you got to learn anything. It doesn't say I have to teach anything. All it says is your name and my name. I said, and anything else we get out of this, we're going to have to work hard to get. And the kids would look at me like, that's really the way it is, though. And they come up to me and they say, can you teach me this? I say, I really don't know, but I'll tell you at the end of the grading period how much I think you've learned. And there's no way I can do it accurately, honestly. So you're really going to have to really produce a lot to sandbag against me making an error against you. You're really going to have to put in that extra time to gain everything that I didn't teach that I thought I did. And you're going to have to get all that and be sure to laugh at my jokes along the way. And if you can do that, we're probably going to be in love forever. And the love will teach you everything you need to know and carry you through every heartbreak, every disaster, and make you come back and sit at the throne and ask for more. I said, it'll be a fantastic trip. But you try to do it with your mind, and there's always somebody else's mind that's better, even if it's worse. Was it the idiot savant that can sit and do mathematical problems as fast as you can put them down and outdo a computer? By the time you get ready to push the thing that says total for the computer, they rattle out the total. That does not mean anything other than they just do that. And a lot of people are trying to make something more than that than what it is. That's just it. And a lot of things are just that. And we can spend years fathoming something that is no more valuable after you get it than it was when you started, except it occupied your time and distracted you from finding out if you're an idiot inside. And one thing you will find out. One thing you will find out. And I mean getting in there, not thinking you're getting in there, not putting time to get in there, but getting in there in terms of that. People say to me, well, I think I'm there. I say, you're not. They say, how do you know? I said, there's no thinking there. They say, well, I feel like I'm there. I say, you're not. There's no feeling there. They said, how do I know when I'm there? I said, you'll know. And they say, I know. And I say, you can't play the word game. Anyone who's there knows who's there. And a lot of you have been in the smaller seminars with me on retreats when people have tried their game and I've just called it right on their head and showed them what they were doing and why they were doing that and how they can overcome it and how they could change it from inside of them, and using my words to keep them distracted long enough so that they'd give it up and find out what we were talking about. Thank God every one of them have been smart enough to catch it. I don't know how they caught it. I don't know how they were smart enough to get it. But they got it, and it became evident inside of them. Do you know what they say to me? Thank God you hung on there and did it. Thank God you did that. I'm glad you didn't let go because I was upset. Thank God that you knew that there was something in me so dynamic and powerful and strong. And thank God you hung on to it and shook it until I wakened up to it and I got a hold of it. Now what can I do to help? I say, well, get your sword and your shield and get out there and do battle, because they're going to come at you just like you came at me. They'll say, well, how am I going to do it? I say, well, don't do it the way I do it. I don't even do it well that way. But if you can do it through dancing, painting, music, art, by demonstrating how not to do it. And if any one of those can bring a person closer to that place where the divine resides inside, go after it. But remember, you must sacrifice everything inside of you except your integrity. And you do not compromise your integrity for 1 second with anyone. And if they don't like it, you say, there's the door, goodbye. And if they can't see what you're dealing with, they're never going to see it in terms of your beautiful presentation, nor in terms of how professional you are, or in terms of all your vocabulary words. All those are smoke screens to your own lack of spiritual knowledge. Sure, the United States has come a long way in terms of technology, but I'm not too sure that that's all that smart. I'm quite sure that we're a nation really well fed. I'm not too sure that we're fed nutritionally. I'm sure we're a nation of lots of opportunity, but I'm not too sure that opportunity is going to take us anywhere until we can start living from the center of our beingness as a dynamic spiritual person, not one who sits in a full yoga position chanting Om all day long or Om Mani Padme Om. Those are metaphysical rituals or religious counterparts. We're talking about that action that's breathing in and breathing out. We're talking about that crying, that laughing. We're talking about that thing that moves you where you'll lay down your life for everybody. That part where you just be of selfless service. That part where they say, I need help, and you pick them up and you help them. Not, now where do you help me, but it's like on to the next one. And somebody behind you is coming up behind you, and they're going to pick up the rest and the rest. And somebody in front of you is already helping. When you fall, they'll come and step on your head, because that's the way it works. You never do anything in terms of, when do I get mine? They're going to get yours just after they stomp you. And I'm not saying that's nice and that's comfortable. But I am telling you, that's what it is in this level when you enter into spirit. The world will beat your head off. And you'll know you're making progress because as soon as you stick your head above the crowd, there's somebody up there with a little something going to shoot it down at you. And do you know what's so neat? Those people out there know exactly the right word to say to just cut your energy, just like that. They can choose one or two words, and you think, my God, they didn't know me, and they hit me right where it is. I say, well, don't hide it. They hit it, say, all right, take the whole thing. Somebody says, you lush, you say, gin, vodka. 30 quarts a day. Now where are you going to hit me? Now what are you going to do to destroy me? Nice thing about the Bible that said something, and it was really, I thought it was really quite neat. It said, confess your sins, and you feel better. And I often thought, these people playing all their sinful games and fighting the devil, they'd lose in a second. If the devil walked in the room, they'd be burned up and destroyed. They're fighting their illusions. I said, confess your illusion. What's the illusion? I don't know what's going on around here. Well, I'm drunk all the time thinking that does it. I'm always abusing people. I don't know what's going on. Most of us think, I'm not going to say that. I know what's going on. It's like, you just fell in your illusion. It's interesting, when we fess up the ignorance that we have, we become free of maintaining the illusion of knowledge. And we're free. We actually become relieved of that sin of false knowledge. And we enter into that they call, now you're saved. Well, who knows what that is? But we do know what awareness is. In fact, I've really been having fun with some of the people who follow the Christian idea of the Bible, instead of the Bible, churchianity. And they'll say, terms like, Jesus, the Savior of my soul. Are you saved? I said, nope. Nope. They say, you're not saved. Never lost. They think, oh, how cute. And I look at them, and I say, what does this saved mean to you? They say, I know, I believe, I feel. And I say, and what's all that? They say, well, that's awareness. And I say, Jesus, the awakener of my soul. Fantastic. Then you're saved because you're aware. So we have to watch that we don't get ourselves all stuck up on a word of saved. One of the words that we learn in English, is to be frugal. And frugal means saving. Not in terms of the Midas approach. And then one of the girls in her writing out things in the book, or in her class thing, about the girl who was going down the river in the canoe, and she lost her oar, so she yelled out, frugal me, frugal me. It's a classic one of save me, save me. Somebody saying, what's a frugal? And then your mind goes, maybe it means this, maybe it means that, maybe it means this, maybe it means that. But the thing of it is, what must you do? I must be aware she's in trouble, and I got to get her out of there over here. And that's what we're dealing with, is getting us out of the trouble there and over here. And whatever the process is that does that, short of hurting anyone. Hey, and I really mean that. And some of you people have the temerity, God bless you, to come and sit here in the seminars and then bitch and complain about somebody next to you. And you just missed the boat. Or somebody didn't smile at you correctly when you walked in the door because they're on JR staff. Well, why don't you turn around and go back out again? All of these things. We think, well, to be spiritual means you must do all these nice things for me and I can be a son of a gun and get away with it. And that's nonsense. To be spiritual means you allow them the leeway of their errors. You allow them the moment of them not knowing. You give over to them the benefit of not your doubt, but the benefit of that possibly something else has distracted them, and they couldn't give you all the attention you need, Princess, or Your Royal Highness. We have to say, hey, it's okay if you didn't smile at me tonight. Give it to somebody out there behind me who really feels they might need it. I got a whole lot going for me. And one of the things going for me is I'm here and I'm aware and I'm going to help. And I'm going to help by staying out of your way. I'm not going to give you pause to think badly of me. I'm going to do all these things that are nice because I feel good when I do that. And if you don't like it, tough. Because who knows? You may not be back tomorrow. And I'm not going to feel bad about that. I'm going to feel good about where I am right now. It's practical. Of course, I said that for you 3 people that are here that did that. You think I don't know it? Not just tonight. I'm talking about the other nights too. And it's really important that you've got to give up that moment of your self-righteousness, how great you are, to get to how great you are. You've got to give up that whole approach of they didn't do this and they didn't do that, to go someplace else where people truly appreciate you. Go somewhere else where they're really going to cater to your demands, where they're going to really just keep you right where you are and tell you how wonderful you are and let you die in your own stupidity. And you die daily. Or listen to those around you who say, hey, look, Butterball, knock off 400 pounds. Take care of that. Don't spend your money foolishly. Check things out. You say, who are you telling to check things out? You, spendthrift. It's like, who are you talking to? You're broke. You're going around mooching from everybody. Save your money. They're not telling you anything that's going to hurt you. Have you ever realized that? Sometimes people come up to me and they try to stroke my ego, and I say, my ego thanks you very much. Get out of here. People have said to me, do you have enemies? I said, I hope so. I say, well, why? I said, they keep me on the straight and narrow. They're really my friends because they'll tell me when I get out of line. They're really going to tell me. And they're going to tell me so forcefully I have nothing to do but change it. Hey, and 2 of my best friends were my mother and father. When they told me, they really told me. My dad told me with a doubled up fist. He dribbled me off the floor and banked me off the wall. he made it was only worth 1 point though. Hey, and I'd go up my room thinking, yeah, I'll die. You do this and I'll do that, and you have to pay for my funeral. Then I realized he'd probably be glad to the way he feels now. But I'd think about it, like, here's a guy that will give me food and clothing and will go against my mother for me if she thinks she's wrong. If he thinks she's wrong in discipline, he'll go against her and explain to her and explain to me why he did that. Then he beat the hell out of me. But something inside said, yeah, but he's got a good reason for doing that. You got hell inside of you. I didn't believe that. I wasn't spoiled rotten, just spoiled. Rotten would be corruptible. But the first day you smell your own sweat and it stinks, then you find out maybe it is rotten. Just maybe I better open my eyes and start paying attention. And who's going to tell me? It's like, who knows? I better keep your eyes open. I'm sure many of us have entertained angels unaware that they come in to really tell us what it was. And the only way they could get to us was first, like you do to the jackass, you hit it in its head with a board to get its attention first. Then when you get its attention, you can tell it what to do. And I'm sure we're all going to do that stubborn number. Who are you going to tell me? It's like, I'm the guy here with this board that's going to tell you. And that pain that we have from that is just our own way of telling us you're hanging on to things that are not working for you. Why are you living back there? Why don't you get up to right here? It's like, I'm here and I got the headache. I know your headache is bringing you here. But why? It's because you were back there so long you forgot to run the blood. You got all uptight by thinking that way and constricted your heart. And your breath, look what they're going to do to me. They're not even in town yet. They're not even around. What are you so panicked about? But what if they come? Handle it when they come. What'll I do? Duck. Duck? It's not how you handle stuff like that, by ducking. All right, stand up. Let them hit you in the head. They will. Have you noticed that? Have you ever noticed that that thing you tell, the most intimate thing you tell your lover, is exactly what they use on you in divorce court? Don't write anything down that they can use in court against you. You love me? Yeah, that's why I'm not telling you this. Why? You'll always stand around to find out what I got hiding here. What have you got hiding? Nothing. You're just saying that. That's all I'm doing is just saying it. If you're going to do something that you can't write down on paper and hand somebody, don't do it. Simple, isn't it? Don't write it down. Okay? But if you can't do it and write it down, don't do it. You won't hear any better advice anywhere else on the planet. And don't say anything that you don't care if they tape it and they're going to play it over the air in the next meeting. You might say, well, gee, I sure have to monitor my mouth. I know that's what's been getting you in trouble all these years. Your mouth. You're always talking, always telling people what you think and what they should and shouldn't do. Now they caught you for giving medical advice, you're not a doctor. Now you're giving psychiatric advice, you're not a psychiatrist. Now you're holding yourself out for that and you're not even that. Why don't you just shut up? It's like, well, then who'll know I'm around? The authorities won't know. But look at all the help I want to do. Then go get your education, get the necessary papers that everybody's voted upon, that if you have this diploma, you can do this. So I'm not going to do it that way. I'm special. Nobody's special here. Nobody's exempt. And if you think you are, you're a screwball. Maybe that's a new type of drink. A lot of people seem to be drinking it. As soon as we come to that moment where every one of us have got to watch and be concerned and be responsible, even when we don't feel like it. It's not doing right when we feel like that's a nice thing to do, but it's when we do right when we don't want to do right. It's when we keep going when we think, who cares, I don't care, I'm not going to do it, and you do it anyway. That's integrity. That's the part you build. That's the part you live in. And then when you feel like doing it later on, you've already been doing it all along, so you don't have to feel bad about the delay. And you won't find out that you've been your worst enemy. You'll find out you've been your best friend. God, does that take discipline? Lord. And it often takes hours of finding out that weak point on you that's weak and confront it. Not with more weakness. You don't handle your emotional weakness by freaking out. You don't handle emotional weakness by being depressed. You handle by emotional weakness by seeing where it comes in and find out, what is it I've been doing? Why is this here? What is the result? Where am I going with this? How is it they do that to me? How is it they, every time they call me an alcoholic, I get depressed? So are you drinking a lot? Yeah. All right, for the dumbing here, you stop drinking. It's like, yeah, but I like to drink. Tell them you only take one drink at a time. Some people, one drink is you are the lush of lushes. And an alcoholic says, oh, not till you've had at least 32 pints. One evening. 100% proof. On the rocks. Never take it straight, you're an alcoholic. Always mix it with something. Always. No matter how thin you slice bologna, have you ever noticed that? You always can taste it. I'm so sensitive that they can put garlic in a bottle nearby food and I taste it in the food. If I can't taste it, I get a headache from it. I said, "Did you put garlic?" And they said, "Nope." I said, "Was garlic in the kitchen?" "Yep, that's close enough." Some things in our lives, we become so sensitive that when we find people getting close to us, we know they're going to rip us off someplace. Pay attention to your training. Your training is part of your spiritual awakening. You pay attention to that. That paying attention is not commanding your attention, you're giving your attention. So therefore, nobody's distracting you by commanding of you. You're freely observing, you're freely watching. In that moment, you enter into awareness. The awareness, by its very nature, brings you into that moment where you then start that process of upflow of energy. You can do nothing with awareness. You understand that? You can do something with that upflow of energy that appears spontaneously when awareness is present. If you say, "I'm aware I do this and this," we say, no. When you're aware, you're aware. And that awareness allows these other things to take place. And then you can handle those other things. And you handle them from the state of awareness. In that moment, you've entered into freedom. But until you get off this planet in the soul realm, you're not liberated. And we teach freedom as a byproduct on the way to liberation. And so the end result is always health, wealth, and happiness. Not in your terms, in terms of it. And those terms will vary according to each person as they come into the world. You can have joy and have it more abundantly, but you must do those things that produce joy. If you're going to drive a Rolls Royce, you get Rolls Royce money. You're going to enter into those things that produce a Rolls Royce. If you say, "I don't like that, I like a Ford," then you won't have to do quite so much in that area. And each person will decide from inside of them that innate goal that they want to produce outside. But the goal stays inside. As soon as you put it out there, it will corrupt and destroy. And from inside, you manifest the goal and you walk to it. Berush Beishan.